Looking at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, one won't be wrong to say that the success of certain prayers in Atiku's petition will work in the favor of Peter Obi, not Atiku himself. Let's take it one by one. The 25% requirement in Abuja, for instance, when the court interprets that section of the constitution that deals with it, it will not favor Atiku Abubakar because he himself did not score 25% in Abuja. The issue of 25%, like already analyzed in many videos, it's a constitutional matter. It doesn't need anyone to bring any witness to testify or say anything. It's just for the judges to interpret this relevant section of the constitution. What about the disqualification of Tinubu and all the forgeries of the certificate, the dual nationality that he refused to disclose? There's no doubt that Atiku brought formidable evidence to court. But is he going to benefit from it in case the court rules in the positive? Before we answer that question, let's take another look at the certificate, because a lot of people are trying to waive it and say, they don't have evidence, they don't do this, they don't do that. You can't just waive this issue away because the evidence is actually in court right now. Let's look at the certificate. This is the certificate that Tinubu submitted to INEC. As you can see, this is a certified true copy that Atiku and his legal team got from the High Court. They filed this matter at the High Court, but it's like the High Court declined jurisdiction. So they brought it back to the tribunal. You can see all the differences. You can see, look at all the fonts. The Chicago State University that written is not the same font. And 3 people signed this certificate, unlike 2 in the original. Even the font of the body of the certificate is not exactly the same thing. Even the logo also is different from that of the original. Now look at the original. How did they get this original? They got it through a subpoena. They subpoenaed Chicago State University in the United States to provide the certificate that they issued Tinubu in 1979. You can see the differences. Let's put it side by side so that you understand that it is not the same thing. With this evidence, does it amount to forgery? What is forgery in the first place? Forgery means altering something to look like something that it is not, with an intent to deceive, fraudulently or otherwise, or to gain something. Another question is, can someone forge something that he owns? If he truly graduated from Chicago State University and he truly lost the certificate, according to him in the 90s when the military raided his house, he lost all the documents. Why was it difficult for him to apply to the university to give him another one if they can? There are some Nigerian universities that can't issue you a second certificate. They can only give you a cover letter. Or you yourself, you can go to court and get an affidavit as a cover. Why didn't he make the effort to reach out to the university to get another copy or get a cover letter or just use an affidavit? Why did he go the extra length of forging the certificate? And he didn't even do a good job at that. They should have gotten this original that Chicago State University have been using since the 70s. He should have made it exactly this and submitted to INEC. No one would have raised an eyebrow. But he decided to go online to sites that offer certificates. They have many templates of certificates from many universities in the world. So you just get online, download it, fill the vacant places and print it out. That was exactly what they did. So is it a crime in the eyes of the law? Forgery is still forgery, whether you own it or not. And going by the judgment of Saleh versus Ada, where the Supreme Court sacked him because of certificate forgery and ordered INEC to give the certificate of return to Saleh, one can comfortably say that it is the end of the road for Tinubu. There's no judicial technicality or gymnastics that they can use to exonerate Tinubu on this one. It is definitely the end of the road. This is forgery. Since the original certificate was gotten from the university on a subpoena and they duly notarized it, certified true copy from the university, that means it is good as oral testimony. In fact, an oral testimony is not even required this time. It's just the same way the Labour Party candidate in Enugu subpoenaed NYSC to come and testify and present evidence against Peter Mba at the Enugu Governorship Election Petition Tribunal. Also, the electoral law permits the notarized copies of documents or certified true copies to be tendered at the courts without oral evidence. You don't need them. Once they are certified, it means that they came from the producer, the maker of the document, that they came from them. Now, with this incontrovertible evidence from Atiku that Tinubu really forged his certificate, if the court eventually disqualifies him because of the forgery, will Atiku benefit from it? What will determine if Atiku will benefit from the disqualification of Tinubu is if the tribunal is not able to determine the true winner of the election. Remember, they will not deliver the judgment in isolation. They will look at all the prayers of the PDP and that of the Labour Party and deliver judgment one by one the same day. If they disqualify one candidate, the candidate is struck off from the election with the entire votes that the candidate scored. The votes we are talking about here are lawful votes, not rigged results or allocated figures by INEC. First of all, they will determine the number of lawful votes that all candidates received in the election. When they determine that, they will now check other conditions that a winner must meet according to the Constitution, which is the 2/3 in 24 states across the country, and FCT. The only person that scores this, of course, is widely known. It is Peter Obi that scored it. So he will stand to benefit if they are able to disqualify Tinubu and still determine the highest lawful votes. So the only way Atiku will benefit is if the court is not able to determine the winner. If they look at all the evidence submitted by the Labour Party, PDP, and all the petitioners, and they are still not able to agree with Labour Party that they won the election, that the evidence is insufficient or they can't add all the figures to arrive at a winner, then definitely there will be a rerun election. And with Tinubu disqualified, that means Peter Obi and Atiku will face off in the next election. There's also the issue of cancellation, where Atiku is saying that the margin between him and Tinubu is less than the number of unaccounted votes, not just the 18,000 polling units that are missing or blurred on IREF, but there are others that were not even uploaded. So if they are able to gather all this and estimate that maybe the polling units amount to about 3 million or 4 million votes. So when all these are done, it might still not lead to an outright cancellation of the election. Nigeria cannot afford another election, and there is no guarantee that what happened before won't happen again. This is the problem. So it is better for the courts to determine who won the election if they can, because the evidence is before them. Let them look at the evidence and determine the winner. There's no need cancelling the election when a winner can be determined. And besides, it will be very difficult for Nigerians to come out en masse like before to vote again. The kind of crowd that trooped out in polling units across the country to vote last time around, we might not even see 20% of that because it took time for people to be convinced to come out to vote. And they did come out to vote, but at the end, their votes didn't count. It would take a miracle for people to come out in case the election is cancelled. Now, let's use this opportunity to answer a few questions. Rex wants to know if the INEC chairman will be the one to conduct another election in case of rerun or runoff, whatever. First of all, if the court orders a rerun or cancels the election, that means Tinubu will step down because it means he didn't win the election. And since there won't be a vacuum in Aso Rock, the Senate president will take over. But he can't stay there more than 90 days. And he doesn't have the power to appoint anybody because he wasn't elected. So in this situation, political parties will go to court to force a removal of INEC chairman because he cannot be trusted to conduct a free and fair election, having failed in the first one he did. So the court will definitely agree with them and order the removal of INEC chairman, either by resignation or whatever. Maybe he will hand over to the next in line, because considering that the Senate president does not have the power to appoint anyone, so it's a given that the INEC chairman won't conduct the next election if there is any. Obi, your first question has been answered in the other video. All appointees, political appointees, must go with the president. That's how it happened under Buhari. It has happened all the time. Even at the state level, when governors appoint political appointees, even service chiefs, they are all political appointees. They don't expect to stay in office when a new president takes over. Either he continues with them or he will appoint another person. It's completely his prerogative. About your second question, it is when someone takes oath of office that his tenure begins. It was Peter Obi that proved this anyway. He went all the way to the Supreme Court to interpret the section when Andy Uba won an election in Anambra. He boycotted that election anyway, saying that his tenure hasn't ended. And eventually the Supreme Court ruled in his favor. So whenever he takes the first oath of office, he's sworn in. His tenure will begin from that day. And of course, your third question has been answered already. Pero wants to know if campaigns will continue if there's a rerun election. Yes, people will continue to campaign till maybe a day before the election, because it means that the election hasn't been completed. Campaigns can continue going on. Number 2 has been answered already. If there's a rerun, it means he didn't win, so Tinubu must step down. Just like number 2, number 3 also has been answered. Alright, if you have more questions about the ongoing Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, express them in the comment section. We'll make our time in subsequent videos to answer them. Thanks for watching.
So what happened in Osun is going to happen.
Amen.
By the grace of God.
Amen.
We ask the Lord give you more wisdom.
Amen.
And we know people like you cannot be bribed.
That's
the good thing about it. So
he's a contented man.
Yes, we know you are a man who is out to ensure that, you know, Nigerians get what is rightfully theirs.
Justice.
So it is the justice we've been fighting for.
Yes.
And we believe with the likes of you and by Salivi, SAN, and the rest of the team, we hope and we pray that God gives you wisdom, and we want you to all know that the people are behind you, because the voice of the people is the voice of God.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,